Hi, I'm Laurie from Interior Design Community, and this is To the Trade, and we've got Nile with us. Hi, Nile.
Hi.
And our guest today is none other than Kimberly Seldon. Hi, Kimberly. I'm so excited
I
to
feel
talk
like
to you. We've known each other forever and ever and ever.
right? And I started clapping. Why? Because I'm the guest? No, because I'm so excited to be here hanging out with you 2 today. It's awesome.
You are such an inspiration to so many. You've been a super successful designer, you've been a television presenter, and you've gotten into design coaching in recent years. And really, not just as a coach for design entrepreneurs, but further than that, like really an industry educator as well. So, but we want to start off with the journey. What made you want to become an interior designer from the very, very beginning?
Oh, what made me want to become an interior designer? I thought it would be easier than being a television producer, which is hilarious because turns out it's not easier. I had this naive impression, which I guess some clients would have, right? That my job would be to go shopping with other people's money and how hard could it be? And I'll just open my own business and it'll be great. And the spectacular way I failed is actually what drove me to rebuild my business and which organically led me to business of design. So this is my story is really a story of massive spectacular failure which has turned around into success. But boy, if you didn't have to fail first, wouldn't that be great?
Oh,
Just wouldn't that be? And that's what you're about, right? You're reaching out to this community and say you don't have to do this the hard way. We've got people who've done it every which way, and let's make sure we give you a shortcut to success. And that's so our mission's so aligned.
yes. I mean, I think that for me, so much of becoming a leader or an educator is about not knowing not knowing the answer and not being afraid to ask questions and not being afraid to connect people. And honestly, I think I came into this industry not knowing what was done, what wasn't done. I didn't know what the rules were, which was actually pretty good because I didn't know
Lucky.
how to that I was breaking them. So,
Yeah.
I
And
and I think you do the same thing. You were okay kind of from a very early, on being okay just being vulnerable and sharing the tough times and not just, "Oh, it all looks so beautiful. It all is so beautiful. This is so easy." Because I think
yeah,
that's what people are used to seeing in this industry, We're all used to seeing the beauty, but not how we
yeah.
got.
But I faked it for 10 years. I went to all the industry events and I showed up at market. And when people said, "How is it going?" I said, "Oh, amazing." What I didn't tell them is I had just been fired by 2 clients, that I had another one screaming and threatening lawsuits, that I had no idea how to fix a problem that a contractor created, or how to get myself out of a mess that had nothing to do with me, but the electrician somehow pointed his finger at me. Like, those are not the things I told people when I saw them in public, right? And one of the things that's just so tragic about the industry is that we turn to each other for advice, but most don't know what they're doing. And most aren't willing to admit they don't know what they're doing because, you don't know what you don't know. I actually thought I was doing pretty well. Um, Except that I was sucking so bad. Why would anybody pick this as a career and just tank it so badly when you wanted? I mean, I so desperately wanted to make my clients happy, and don't you hear that all the time? I swear I would have done anything to make them happy. I always joke when I'm speaking that, you want me to show up on Friday night at 10 p.m. I will. You want me to come Sunday morning at 7 a.m. I will. You want to sleep with my husband? Fine. Whatever it takes. Like, I will do whatever it takes to make you happy. And guess what? That just didn't make the clients happy. And it
No.
didn't make me money. It didn't make
And
me
it didn't make you
success.
happy
No,
either,
no,
which is another part of it.
no. I've just walked around all day feeling like a big fake and a big phony. I had to just massive, massive insecurities. And I'm so lucky. I ended up hiring this business coach who knew nothing about the interior design industry. Thank goodness, because had she known anything about it and tried to work within what was actually going on in the industry, I think I would have given up. I would have quit a long time ago. But instead she said, this sounds crazy. What you're describing to me sounds insane. And she went and did a little research, asked friends and neighbors what it was like to work with interior designers and decorators and contractors and all that stuff. And they all had these horror stories. And she said, I honestly can't think of another industry that has so much bad press. So we don't actually want to keep going the way you're going and fine tune things. You want to burn this business to the ground and start over because there's nothing to be saved here, which was, sobering, terrifying. But it began to turn around pretty quickly when I realized that I don't run a creative business. I run a business. I just run a business. And
Right.
I do some things, some parts of my business are creative, but very small part actually is creative. Much bigger part is just the business. And I know we have a limited amount of time, but I'm just thinking about the very first appearance I made at High Point, and I was just advocating that people charge for the consultation, and I got booed and heckled because most people 20 years ago weren't charging. A lot of people went for look-sees, they did freebies. And I just said, we've done the research, we've tried it every which way. We get more projects when we charge for the consultation, and I make money, and it's better for a million reasons. And that was the messaging. And so what's interesting now, we had our 20th birthday at High Point, and the messaging today is, because that's changed. And I know we had some small part in making that change. People do charge now, which is great. But the messaging 20 years later is, guys, it's not enough to earn some money. That's just not enough. You not
No.
only have to earn, right? Okay, I know you've got stuff to say because you're sitting on your hands now. You have to earn a salary. You have to earn profit beyond the salary. You have to be able to invest that profit in order to generate wealth. Because if you cannot generate wealth, you cannot retire. And like it or not, it's coming for you. Like one day, whether you like it or not, it's coming, right?
Absolutely. I have this friend of mine who is not in our industry, but kind of. He used to run a magazine for architecture design. And I would say about 7 years ago, maybe a little longer, I don't know, he sold the business. He, had built up a lot of traffic. It was a very popular magazine, online magazine. It got a lot of hits in a time when people were really struggling with that. I think a lot of the competitors, probably the other magazines that were in print, were not as tech savvy as he was. So he was able to kind of capture a lot of online attention when they were not putting that kind of money. His competitors weren't putting that money online
Mm.
as fast as he was and turning over as much interesting information. And so 8 years ago, he sold his business and he retired. And I have been driving traffic up on interior design community, and I was able to chit chat with him for a little bit. And I was saying, like, what how many, clicks did you get? How many readers did you get before you wanted to do ads? What does that look like? I wouldn't wanna do it in a way that was, like, inauthentic to me, personally, but that could
Right.
be interesting as we're driving traffic up. And he obviously, his numbers are crazy, way crazier than mine, okay? So,
Yeah.
we're just starting compared to him, but he's, what, I've always and I asked him, "Do you miss it?" "Do you miss the excitement of building it?" And he said, Sometimes in the beginning I did, but not anymore. Fully retired, fully happy." He's got a young family. He's traveling the world. He gets to go all over to these gorgeous resorts, and he met a million people for luxury hotels and whatnot. People ask him literally to come stay for free sometimes, and but he's a multimillionaire.
Sure.
And he
Yeah.
said, I always treated it as a business, not a child." And honestly, that hit me really hard
Mm.
because I've always treated interior design community like a family and like a child. Like, it is my baby right now.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and I think so many of us do that. We're always treating our businesses like a baby, like it's our child,
Yep.
and
Yep.
not like business, you know?
And I can relate to that so much. And the fact of the matter is, it doesn't surprise me at all that someone adjacent to being an interior designer made money, but interior designers don't make money. And it's because of what you just said. I never thought of it as your child, but too often we think of ourselves as this teeny tiny piece of the industry, a small local business, instead of thinking of ourselves as a critical, essential part of a billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar industry. There are people making millions in the industry. Why not us?
Right.
When we're working really hard. I know this community. These are my people. This is my tribe. We work way too hard for way too little money. And the fault of that is just partially how we've been programmed because it's a largely female industry. We've been programmed that we don't really have to make as much money as the guys. You probably have a spouse or a partner who makes money. And so this is fun money or it's a side hustle, or instead of thinking like your friend thought, which is this is a business and I'm going to run it like a business, and therefore the minimum entry of a business is to be profitable. And that
Right.
that doesn't mean just take a salary, by the way. That means profit is beyond salary.
You know, okay. I
I
have so
know,
many
right?
thoughts about this. Not just okay. I have a lot of thoughts about this, and I've been thinking of this. These are issues I've been thinking about just as an outside because I feel like very much an outside observer. I listen to
Mm,
designers every day. I talk to designers every day, but I'm not one of you. So I have a very bird's eye view of design businesses. I actually think a bigger bird's eye view than the designers would because they don't get to talk to
oh
each
yeah.
other they like I do, you know? And so here's some things I've noticed and that I think we might want to think about changing. I think that naming your business after your name might be an outdated thing to do because I think that when you go to if you're making it as a business and if you wanna sell it someday as a business, it's
Mhm.
very hard to do that if it's just has your name all over it. Uh,
Yeah.
Building up the process, so you have to care about all of the things, the assets you're building as if you are building a business, like web traffic, email list, database of customers, collaborative relationships, shop if you have one, like all the assets. What are they? How much do they value? And every year, you should probably, or at least every couple of years, you should be looking at those as assets and what you've done to improve those assets.
Yeah.
And then we've pulled our audience many, many times. This is something I tell everybody. Niall, you know this is something I tell everybody is that their designers are the only part of that component that will buy something for the client. Like we have polled our audience multiple times and over again. 85, 90% of designers have purchased actual product for the
Hmm.
client because they felt like it had to be there, you
Oh, you
know,
mean
and
they're funding it? They're
they're
bankrolling the client.
funding
We're
it.
paying
They're
for it.
buying,
Oh,
they're literally
yeah.
buying the chandelier. They're
That's
buying
a
the room.
dirty little secret that people don't talk about when they're at high point and they're telling you how
Oh,
they're great their business is going. But you know what? They want that chandelier on the website. They want it to be able to pitch it. And so they're literally bankrolling the client who probably has more money than they do
yeah,
already.
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
And then, but the contractor wouldn't do that. The architect wouldn't do
Never.
Well, the
that.
contract but the contractor doesn't rely on pictures for his business stuff. See, it's a double standard in the industry, and we can't act like that doesn't exist. A
Well,
Yeah, the
contractor puts
contractor
out his
wants your pictures and tries to use your
well,
pictures for free all
yeah.
the
no,
time.
I've never seen the contractor just gets the job because he's a contractor, and that's 90% of the time. Now, Aaron Stetzer might change the industry because of what she demands. God, I hope she does. But most contractors just get a job because they hang a shingle and say they're a contractor. We don't get jobs based on just because we say we're a designer. They want to see our portfolio. And so we're only as good as our last job. And so I think that's where the struggle comes in, you know? So it's I worked for 3 years on this house and you're not and here's the owner's suite and you're not gonna get the bedding. It's the biggest piece of the bedroom and you're gonna cheap out on the bedding. And so, yeah, I am gonna buy the bedding because that's gonna make the room, you know? It's what
It
am I gonna do?
it is
Yeah.
so
But
funny.
see that, but then the businesses don't run that way. Like it just doesn't run that. My husband's in the lumber business, so they're reeling currently with the announcement of the tariff between Canada and the United States, which is just a huge deal. So the fact of the matter is, if they can't make money selling the good to the client, they don't sell it. They just stop selling. But we don't do that because we treat it like it's some kind of special, you know, never never land universe that exists outside the realms of business, right? To Laurie's point, we go and we buy the chandelier or whatever. But yeah, I don't know.
Oh, we just did a very, really, it was tough to hear poll over this weekend where we asked designers, do you feel like you're saving enough for retirement? And
Oh,
85% of our designers in our
no
community
way.
said no.
Yeah.
85%.
I'm
Um,
I'm even surprised it's not higher.
I
And in
am
fact,
too.
right, the 15% that are, I'd like to look at what you have on track for saving because I
Yeah,
think we should do better, right? It's a bit
right.
shocking. But if they're like I was, when I was 30, I just thought I had unlimited time to make money. And I told
There's
myself the lie, which is I'll make money on the next job. I'll make
right.
money with the next project. I'll make money next year. As soon as the kids are in high school, as soon as the kids are in college, as soon as the husband does this, it was always tomorrow I was going to make money. And today is the only day you can make money. And so you buy the chandelier for your client, you've destroyed profitability, you know. Or here's another way we give away our time, which is opportunity cost. We don't charge them for our expertise and our value, which we often sell in increments of time. And I don't care if you're a flat fee or an hourly fee, you're still a resource of time matters. So we give that away, and that is a finite resource. Cannot be, can't be regrown. It's not like a tree that's going to grow again. It ain't growing back. So,
Right. And I think the
so
other part of it is we're killing ourselves doing it. It's not like
yeah,
we're any happier. It's not like we have any, we're not working. I know so many designers working 100 hours a week
yeah.
to
So
make.
then what is your suggestion for the solopreneur then? What is the solution?
What do you mean for what? Okay, so I would say, why is a solopreneur different than someone who has 30 staff? I would say, if you're running a bit, Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook out of his stinky dorm room.
I don't want to use Mark Zuckerberg as an example. Let's pick some.
Fair enough.
He's
Fair
not my
enough.
favorite person right
Okay,
now.
Me,
fair enough. We're all on the same page on that. But
Perfect.
is, my point is, don't let's set limitations because we hear that all the time. I just work for myself. What is that like? What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything to me. That means you could be extremely profitable because everybody you hire to get the job done is an independent contractor that you make money on. Like you make money on every single person you hire, or else you can't afford to hire them. So, solopreneur or a team of 75, Laurie hit the nail on the head. You have to have process. If you don't have process, you can't succeed and make your clients happy. You can't. And the process begins long before the client hires you. It's your pre qualifying information that you have on your website. It's your qualifying contact call the first time they get in touch with you and say they want to work for you. It's how you present the consultation. It's what happens at the consultation and what happens after, what's in your contract. We have 1,000 systems, probably more than 1,000. And we've broken it down into 15 steps that make sense to us and make sense to clients. So clients always know where they're at in the project. They always know
So,
they're on step 4, step
yeah. So
9.
full disclosure. I 100% agree. I have and utilize your specific process. And it did not change for me. Like my things did not get better until I did. And then I said,
Oh,
we don't waver from this. This is how we work. This is how we do things, period. So that's full disclosure. But
thank you.
the reason I bring it up is because I know prior to that, I I didn't have that information.
No,
Prior to someone telling me about, hey, you should listen to this podcast, prior to me finding out about that, there was nowhere for me to find that information as a
no,
solopreneur. I was an educator in school. I didn't know anything about
no.
any of this stuff. And
Because your
so
peers
I
don't know.
felt
They can't.
no,
no. And so it's like, how do you learn? So what do you do when you come out and you don't have this info?
No.
That's the person
So
I feel
I
bad for,
hired a business
who doesn't
coach who came
know.
from the automotive industry and the banking industry. She knew what to do. She knew how to run a business. Designers don't know how to run a business. And it's no, because
No,
we go
because
to
we don't
school
learn
and
it.
we're patronized to pick the pillows, here's the paint on the
Yeah.
wall. We spent like weeks on the color wheel. Are you kidding me? What the
Yep.
hell do you need a color wheel? I've never
Yep.
in my life said to a client,
Yep.
let me whip out my color wheel. But right? What we should have been told is you need a bookkeeper,
Yeah,
you need
that's
a
true.
financial advisor, you need a strategy to
Yep.
get paid
So
from
yep,
day one. And I'm like,
yep.
I'm like all fired up. I always say it, I've come very late to the game being a feminist, but I'm offended by what they teach us in business, in our business classes for interior design. Part of the problem is they're often taught by someone who was an interior design professional who wasn't successful, right? And now they're teaching. And that's what's the problem with coaching in the
Yeah.
industry, too. 90% of the business coaches, the interior design business coaches out there, are people who started a business, didn't make money running a business, and now they're going to tell you how to make money running a business, right? So it's
Mm,
so, and
that's a
thank
good
you,
point.
Niall, for
Yeah,
saying
that's a
that
good
you're a
point.
business of design person. It's funny, we have discovered that we are like a dirty little secret. Like, people use us, but
Yeah, somebody
people
had to tell
hide the
me.
fact
Yeah.
that they take classes from us because, I don't know, like, maybe because we think we're supposed to know everything. And so if I had to go learn it from somewhere, I'm somehow diminished. But so thank you for saying that. It makes me happy.
We
No,
love
and see,
that. We also
I
love the
tell everybody.
processes,
I
like
tell everybody. Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah.
one of the things
Yeah.
that I liked was that you have actual collateral materials. You have
Oh,
things that people can search
Yes.
for
yeah,
that
Yes,
are
that you
real
can look
things
at.
that you can
Yeah.
look at, not
no
just
theory.
like theories. Like you
No.
could try this or you could, or
Yeah.
it's more like here's the
Yeah.
document itself.
Yeah.
Here's what to
Yeah.
do. Here's how you can edit
Yeah.
it for your own use, and this is it. This is what you need to start with, because I think that it is true. Niall was an educator in school. He was teaching, but I talk to design students that come through the community all the time, and sometimes we put them in groups, and I'll do a Zoom like this with them, and over and over again, they've never heard of trade pricing. They've never heard of high.
No.
They think
No.
their first job out of school should be like restoration hardware. That's like
Yeah.
achievable for them when
Yeah.
they first graduate from college. They think that's going to get them their foot in the door
No.
as a designer.
That's the other lie. In
Maybe they
time, I'll change. In time, it'll be different. In time, it will change. And if you're like me, 10 years later, you go, wait a minute, I'm still not making money. 10 years later, I have a million clients because I was on TV. So I had this weird, I was recognizable. So I had a ton of clients, but I was just making a ton of clients unhappy. Imagine how crappy that feels. You go into an industry event, you're sort of, I'm using air quotes, famous, because I never think of anybody on reality TV who's famous, but you go into these events and I just felt like so inauthentic. Honestly, if you knew how shitty I felt about what I did to clients, not on purpose, because I really wanted to make them happy. I just didn't know how to run a business. And someone had to teach me how to run a business. And now I could sell donuts, or I could sell, roofing material, or I could sell interior design service. Once I know how to run a business, the steps are the same for everybody. It doesn't change.
right, right. And when there is a problem, when you have a client, we've covered this on another podcast too, but when your clients have a problem with something that you're doing, instead of thinking of it as a them problem, that's
Yeah.
a process problem. That's like, obviously something in my process wasn't
Mhm.
communicating to them what I need to communicate with them so that they are
Mhm.
consenting to what we're doing. They understand what we're doing, and they're along for the ride. And it's a little bit about a chance to change your process too. As you evolve your business, you're running that you're running. You can take the structure of someone else's business plan, but once you start to own it, maybe in your area, maybe in the way you do things, you need to make sure that when you're hearing, when people are getting upset, that's an opportunity for you to figure out how you could change the process so that people aren't
The
upset.
the
you
game
know?
Yeah.
changer for me was
Yeah.
a business coach telling me that no matter what's wrong on the project, like, I'll say it again, no matter what's wrong on the project, it's your fault. Wait a minute, I would say, it's not my
Right.
fault. The electrician do it. It's your fault.
Mm,
100%. If it's your fault,
ouch.
you can fix it. If it's anybody else's fault, you're
Right.
screwed. You can't fix it. Nothing you can do. You can't change anybody else, but you can change you.
Oh,
And
that's a good
that
way to
was
look at it.
so, yeah,
Right.
that
That's a good way
really,
to
I have
look at it.
goosebumps about that because that is true. If I just would say it every problem, and I got used to saying, okay, I'm going to look at this. Somewhere in this process, I made a mistake. I'm going to identify where that is, and we're going to fix this problem. And the clients would, it would just take the snuff out of them. They would suddenly be like, oh, you made the mistake. Oh, okay. I'll be patient while you tell me what you're going to do to fix it. And then I would go back and I would say, the electrician says he didn't know he was supposed to blah, blah, blah. That's a me problem. That's a process problem. If he doesn't know, and here's what we run into all the time with people that say, but I did tell him. So what? You didn't tell him enough. You didn't tell him the right way. You didn't tell him in such a way that he heard. So it's still your fault. Like, it's so liberating when you just say, it's my fault and I can fix it. And then you just fill in those, you plug, it's like having these little holes in your bucket. You just plug the little holes until finally you have a process. Like we have very few problems. We don't have zero problems on projects, but we have very few problems on projects. And we rarely have a problem that blows up, like almost never, you know?
Right,
So,
right. We always tell our kids that too. Growing up, my husband was always like, just fall on your sword immediately. Just you're right. It just takes away
yeah,
all of the anger that people are feeling to just be immediately like,
yeah.
I'm
But I think
doing this is wrong.
the really important part is what Kimberly said is that you can fix it because that's the empowering part. Because with my kids, it's, oh, it's my fault, and you walk around with
Mm,
that shame of it's my fault, but empowering them by saying, but if you take the blame or if you say it's your fault, then you can fix it. I think that for me
That's
is where the shift comes in because then
yeah.
you feel empowered, and you're not focused on, oh, it's my fault. And you don't dwell in that. You immediately move to, oh yeah, and I can fix it because I said it's my fault.
Mhm,
Now I can fix it. So you move into
yeah.
to that, to the resolution
We're
mode, which I think
also
is huge.
shifting the conversation to solution rather
Yeah.
than problem,
Yes,
right?
rather than a problem. Yeah, your whole
Yeah,
mindset
like
changes,
how
which I
many
think is
times have you
huge too.
seen a designer or heard of somebody who said, "Oh, the electrician, he screwed up," you know? Really? You brought the electrician in. He screwed up. You're the dummy who got him here, you know? Or then somebody will say, "I didn't hire him." Did you communicate with them in any way? Were you the person directing them? And if you weren't, if you were supposed to be, but you didn't know it, it's still your fault. Somewhere in the process between A and B, something went wrong. And if you can identify it, like Nile said, if you can identify it, you can fill that gap and you can fix it. Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
sometimes it isn't your fault, but you can, just because it isn't your fault doesn't mean you can't take control of the
No.
narrative,
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
you
Like
know?
you've told the electrician, you told him 50 ways from Sunday, and for whatever reason, he had a bad day and he just did the wrong thing. I would still say to the client, it's still my fault because he's my electrician. Now and I literally have said this to clients, we have two choices. I can take him out back right now and shoot him, or I can let him fix this problem for us. And it's going to take him a few days. And they'll just laugh and say, okay, I'm thinking about option one because I'm really annoyed right now, but let's go with option two. And I've used that exact line with clients and they always go, okay. Because the fact of the matter is, if you're doing any job, you have dozens, if not hundreds of people who are working on that job. A whole bunch of them are going to make a mistake. Like, there's just going to be,
Sure. Including you sometimes, including
Yep.
you. No one's
Oh, yeah.
perfect.
right.
Anymore.
So you just have to be able to account for human error and say, we're going to figure out a solution. That's what we're here for.
I think that you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I tell designers that when we talk to them all the
Mm,
time is you have to get comfortable with these conversations that feel
Yeah.
confrontational. You just have to get to that place where you're okay saying the
Yeah.
hard thing sometimes. And that I think is almost the biggest part of owning a business that people struggle with. I think that's something that is tough for people to, stand their ground, just say no, just be silent,
saying
We
no,
want
yeah.
to
to put a
we want
line
to
in
make the
the
client
sand, to make
happy.
a joke.
We want to we
Yeah,
want to
People
make them
pleasers, yeah.
happy. So
people
funny.
please.
I was in a yoga class. I think I literally have a podcast with this title. I was in a yoga class. The teacher said, today you just might be your day where you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And I thought, my God, that is
Sure.
just so true, right? That is so, so true. And I think to myself, I can have 2 minutes of discomfort, this uncomfortable, awkward conversation with my client, or I can have 2 years of misery because I didn't have the conversation and the project went on to a grinding, beating regimen that was just miserable. So I can have the hard
Right.
conversation, and then everybody knows who knows me. I sit on my hands. If I've said the hard thing, I sit on my hands, which is an indication to shut your mouth. Don't say another word. Now it's let the client have a feeling, let them get mad, let them say something. It doesn't matter, whatever it is, but just shut up and listen. So, and I
Right.
sit on my hands a lot. I actually have a client who, I don't know why she listened to the podcast, but she goes, I've seen you sit on your hands. And I'm like, oh my God, why would you listen to the
That's
podcast?
embarrassing.
That's crazy.
No. Right. I mean, yes. But it's so true though. I mean, I think that we have to be the more you actually get over once you let yourself have those
Yeah,
conversations and
Yeah.
be uncomfortable and let the client have their feelings and let them express how they are upset or whatever, that you get more
yeah,
comfortable with it. And that's why you have some designers who have many years of experience that seem like they're not unfazed by this now because they've had this conversation a
yeah,
million times. They know they're going to be able to take care of the problem. They
Yeah.
don't get as stressed out about it, and they're not losing sleep, really actually losing
yeah.
sleep because they know how they have to have the tough
Yep.
conversations. And it's part of it's that experience, but part of it is you have to be willing to let yourself go through that experience. If you try to
Mhm.
protect yourself from it and avoid it and try to fix the problem behind your client's back, and then that might not work out and you still have to take it in the face, but now your client thinks you lied to them and you've kept
Yeah,
something for
yeah.
them. And it's like this big ball where we all feel back like we were like 12
Mhm.
years old and we have to bring back like a D home to our
The
parents and have
principal's
them sign
office.
it.
Principal's office.
Yeah.
It's funny, I'd say about
Yes.
50% of my coaching is somebody who's in a jam with a client and they want to know how to get out of it. And so I literally will script here's the conversation I would have if it were my client. And I'll often start a conversation that's ugly like that feels like it's going to be contentious with something like, neither one of us wants to be in this meeting right now. I know that you didn't plan in your week to have this uncomfortable meeting. So thank you so much for taking this time. And I'm going to talk through what I think might be some solutions. I'm not sure I have 100% solution for you yet, but I'm going to tell you what options I have right now. And my intention is at the end of this meeting, you're going to feel heard. You're going to know that I'm completely going to take care of this for you no matter what, and that we're going to move on and we're going to put this behind us and we're going to have a really positive relationship going forward. How does that sound? And 100% of the time, the clients will go, oh, okay, all right, that sounds good. And it just puts them in a frame of, this is complicated, but I'm going to solve it. And at the end of it, we're going to be friends. And they just kind of get on board with that. And I'm shocked how often it goes pretty quickly. Once they know that I'm going to listen to them and really hear what's bugging them, they can sort of relax and then turn the solution over to me and then say thank you. And sometimes they'll say thank you really sheepishly because they know that they overreacted or it wasn't that big of a deal or. So anyway,
Yeah. I mean, in the past, I had a client that years ago that like when I was very young and they yelled at me and we had that conversation. They were really upset and I was patient but listened and heard them and fixed the issue. And they sent me like a gift
very
next
nice.
week, and I was so shocked.
Wow.
And I remember at the time, like, people that I worked for were so surprised because this client was known for being the grumpiest of grumps, but he really liked me, and for the rest of our time ever working together, he would go out of his way to
Yeah,
work with me. Go up and it was just I think it was because I grew up, like, with 13 my dad was one of 13, and I had these rough and tumble uncle and there wasn't too much you could tell me that would hurt my feelings at a
right.
young age because my uncles had already tormented the heck out
Yeah.
of me growing. So I was used to people yelling at me and being mad at me, and I just took it easily.
Wow.
I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. This is what we're gonna find out, and this is how we're gonna handle it. And I don't know if that's gonna fix it, but I'm on your side. I'm trying to help this." And he was
Yeah.
shocked that there was anybody willing to just sit there and listening to him bitch. You know? So I was like, in with him from that point on. And I was probably 24 years old at that time. But it doesn't mean just because you're coming at it from an area of even inexpertise, just listening to people is so huge. I think that's part of what I'm trying to say with what you had to say. That is so important to give people the space to feel their
Yeah,
feeling.
and to let them know you heard. I think this it sounds like you're most disappointed in the following thing, and I get that. That would have disappointed me too. I completely understand why you feel that way, and I'm gonna make sure that that doesn't happen to you again. Who doesn't want to
Sure.
hear that, right? It's funny what like the first 10 years I was in business, I thought, God, so many of my clients are such jerks. No, I drove them to distraction. I drove them crazy because I didn't have process. In the last 20 years, almost none of my clients are jerks. One, I can think of one, and I did a podcast around his really bad behavior, legit bad behavior on a job site. But one in the past 20 years, that's pretty good, right? Where I thought I had so many
Really?
before. Occasionally you get a bad
Wow.
one. You do. Occasionally you get someone who's just like rough, just really rough personality. But most people are usually pretty good.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
reasonable. But you have to remember this is a stressful situation. Remodeling any home is a stressful situation for
Yeah.
anyone, and there are always going to be problems. And so often the designer is the middleman in this situation. And so you feel like there's so much of this is out of your control, and you're just getting
Yeah.
beaten on and beaten on. And it takes away your confidence. I mean, we were just in a conversation with another designer, and she was saying this industry has a confidence
Yeah.
problem. But I think that the reason that we have a confidence problem is because of that.
Mm. And I
Don't
think that
you?
once you have process, I don't feel like I'm in the middle anymore. I feel like I'm the lead of the project. And I don't get beaten up by my trades because I'm a good customer to them. I pay them on time. I treat them with respect. I don't give them a ton of change orders. I know what I'm doing. We're a good team, but certainly in my first so many years, I definitely felt that way. And so I would say you don't want to be stuck in the middle getting beaten up on both ends. That just can't happen. The thing about confidence is I always thought confidence is going to be something I gain as I get older. No, it will not automatically come to you. That is not true. Confidence is going to be gained by going to the seminar on confidence. No, good luck, not happening. Confidence is going to be gained by going to a retreat and a boot camp where they're going to build confidence. No, what confidence came from for me were systems. Because now I could say, what would my systems do? Oh, I know this is what they would do. So I'm confident the systems work because they work every single time, right? It's
Right.
why your barista at Starbucks can make you a latte, decaf, frappuccino, whatever, and it turns out the same every time because he's got systems or she's got systems, and so they're not worried about how to make it. The instructions are written down. I'm just going to make it the way I'm supposed to, and then I'm going to give it to the customer, and they're going to go, "Great, I love this." It
Right.
just
Expectation has been set, and the expectation has been delivered.
That's right. That's right.
So,
But I
right.
fought systems like crazy. I fought systems. I can't tell you. I just kept telling.
Me
Right,
too.
Niall, because why? Because
Yeah, me
I think creative
Well,
people
me too.
are this
I didn't
way.
want you to tell me what to do. Don't tell me
I
what to do.
Mhm. Every
exactly.
And
project is
and
unique.
timeline. Oh my God, don't ask me for a time. Everybody that used to, work with me or work for me, they want a timeline. What do you need a timeline for? It'll be done when it's done. Oh, I used to hate you. And then I had a project coordinator look me in the face and said, you're taking this so personally,
Mhm,
but this isn't about anything but a check.
mhm,
This person's writing you a check. They're giving you money
mhm.
and they just want to know when they're going to see something grow from it.
Yeah,
And you are getting and I was like, oh, okay. And then having, like I said, your 15 steps, just I needed boundaries.
yeah,
And it was hard for me to admit it. I need guidelines.
Mm.
I need
But once
boundaries
I have those
because
boundaries, then I have all this leftover time where I can be creative. My work
yeah,
improved like exponentially creatively once I had the systems. So
you just do it all over again.
yeah, I mean,
Your
I don't run a lot
creativity.
of the systems in my office. Someone else does, which is great, and that allows me to spend my time being creative and coming up with what I think the
Yeah.
facade of the house should look like, or whatever stuff I like doing. But so those systems are, as you said, they're the guardrails and they're the boundaries, and then I can be all kinds of creative outside of those systems for my clients, which is such a joy.
Have you found some people who take the courses and who subscribe to the membership, are they resistant to implementing?
Mhm.
Sometimes I know myself, I'm very resistant. My husband says I'm almost allergic to organization.
Yeah,
It's like you're allergic to it.
you know what it is? We look for, a lot of us have a tendency to look for how I'm different, I'm special, I'm unique. And I had this business coach just beat it into my head. There's nothing unique about you, there's nothing special about you, absolutely zero that's special about you. What do you mean? I say, I'm no, it's
Ouch.
just a business and not special in any way. The rules apply, the rules of gravity apply whether or not you like them. The rules of business
Right.
apply whether or not you like them. And what she taught me, and this was shocking to me, she taught me that clients aren't hiring me because I make rooms that are beautiful and I'm creative. They're hiring me because they don't have time to manage all that stuff and they want it done and they
Yeah.
just want someone to do it. And so it's amazing. You watch so many times we'll do an event like at High Point or something with interior designers. We'll say, okay, what makes you special? What makes you unique? And they'll say, oh, we do beautiful projects. And everybody starts laughing because everybody in the room does beautiful projects. That's a given. It's like saying we use oxygen for breathing. No kidding. Like the fact of the matter is my favorite client is a client who's tired, who's working, who doesn't have time, but they have money. Those are my favorite clients.
Right.
They have money but they don't have time. Those are perfect. And I only have to answer 2 questions to make clients happy. Only 2 questions. Not what's your favorite style, what color should I paint the wall? 2 questions. How much will it cost? And how long will it take? And 99.9% of designers cannot begin to answer those 2 questions. And so you fail before you start. Those are the only 2 things
Right.
clients care about. They know it's going to look great
Right.
or they wouldn't hire you. Right. So,
Right. I mean, they already have looked at your work enough to
right.
kind of, get an idea, but they want also to trust that you will deliver.
Yeah.
So, and they do care about that. We just did a giveaway we've been doing these lead magnets for interior designers, and we did one because I noticed from watching designers for so long that they were marketing to each other. And I was just saying, here's what you need to be like, here's your clients' fears, frustrations, and desires.
Yeah.
We did big list of 300 fears, frustrations, and desires. And I'm like, you literally could take any one of these and make a 1-minute video about how you handle that issue. And that is way better than just posting a picture of your latest project,
Yeah.
even because they do care about what your process looks like and what you do in these scenarios and, how you handle problems. I mean, it's teaching the client to value what you
Yeah.
do. And sometimes we're kind of like our own worst enemy in that we hate that the only thing they have that they think of as HGTV, right? They hate the reality that it's cheap and it's fast,
Yeah.
but we're not doing anything to dispel that rumor, that's not really what it is. And this is really how a project, so that we need to be killing the perceptions of design too at
Yeah.
the same time.
And so how many, Niall will know this, so often we meet a client, they've already gone through 2 or 3 designers before they hire us. And in our case, it's often, we thought you were going to be expensive. So we went this way, we went that way. And then, guess what? It's more expensive now because we have to fix it. Right. So,
Sure.
so the reality is clients will learn on their own if they work with someone who doesn't have systems and processes, that it's nothing like HGTV. And then hopefully they'll find you. But your idea of making these little videos is so true, because if you whatever pain, you could talk about any pain point in the process of renovating. And if your client, it happens to be your new client that you haven't met yet, prospective client, happens to be going through that right now, you're going to hook them fast. Yeah.
Sure. And they have probably they have experienced this is
Oh,
taking too long. This is this is costing too much money. Those are two videos right then that
right.
you can your pain points, that the designer, design client is thinking about. They're thinking about themselves,
Yes.
not thinking about what a fancy artist you are.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, it's true. Very, very true.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
such a complicated industry, and unfortunately, it's made to seem like it's a fluff career. It's when it's not even close to being that. I mean, if you're looking for,
No.
then that's how I got into it, right? I left TV, which was madness. I think I'm going to go into design. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. I'm going to go shopping with other people's money. Oh boy, was I wrong. TV is way easier, and TV is very stressful. It's just way, way easier because you have people's money. My very first company was called An Inside Job, and I thought I was so clever. Get it? An inside job? Ha ha ha. And I met this guy once and he goes, I would never hire you. And I said, why? And he said, because your name sounds like stupid. He's like, why would I give you $1 million to build my house? And you think it's funny. You think it's like a little game or something. And I was like, oh, ouch. Okay, thank you. So, you know what I mean? Like, when you start taking it seriously, when you start, making sure that you're making a salary and you're making profit and you're putting away independent wealth so you can be financially secure, your clients will treat you that way too.
And you value yourself and you're taking yourself for a walk and you're making sure you have time for yourself and you have your boundaries and have health insurance like
It's true.
and
This
those
is
are
true.
things that
It's true.
make you feel really confident too. I think
Yeah,
that those are really that builds the confidence too that you're taking it seriously. If you're taking yourself seriously, other people will.
Everybody else will. Yeah.
everybody else
Yeah.
will.
Then why should they?
Oh,
Yeah.
clients will treat you exactly how you tell them to treat you, you know.
That's such a great thing that you just said. That's so brilliant. I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's like we teach other people how to treat us. I mean, why would that be any different with a client?
Yeah.
Ryan.
I remember
That's so
thinking, like, the boss makes the rules, so I should make better rules because I have terrible rules. And I also remember thinking my dad would go out golfing every Wednesday with his buddies. I don't think my dad's job was that hard, but every Wednesday he would take off in the afternoon and golf with his buddies. And I remember being about 8 or 9 years in interior design and thinking, there's no way I could take a half a day off to play golf. I don't want to play golf, but uh, I couldn't. I'm way too busy and I don't make any money. What's going on
Right.
here? Why did my dad have the ability to go play golf half a day and he made money and I can't make any money? Like what the heck is going on here? The more systems you have in place, the more opportunities you'll have to play golf if that's what you want to do in the afternoon. A lot of us brag about a flexible schedule, but all that really means is you took time off in the afternoon to take your kid to a soccer game, but you work from 9 till 1 a.m., 9 p.m. till 1 a.m. to make up for it. That's not a flexible schedule. That's stupidity. And we have to own that and stop it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
true.
And set the expectation of when the project is going to be complete realistically so
Yeah.
that we aren't trying to kill ourselves meeting an expectation that we've already I think that people pleasing mode happens sometimes before we've even talked to the client where we've set we and I think Niall, could you explain this too? Like when you go in there and you're having the meeting, you find yourself
Oh yeah.
like right? I
Yeah.
mean,
100%. Yeah. It's
you
like
want
it
to
starts.
talk.
Yeah.
They're in your
It
hair,
starts.
you want the
Oh yeah. You want the project, and they're like, oh, so how long does it? It's the way they look at you. How long will this take? I give them the whole process, and then I'll go away for a little while, and I'll be designing, and you won't really hear from me. My project manager, she'll send you weekly updates because I've learned that you want to know what's going on, even if there's nothing going on. So she'll just say hi, but it won't be really like as in depth as it will be. So how long does that part take? And that's depending on like how they look at me. That's where I'm like, so for and I've fudged it. I'm like, oh, 4 weeks. 6 weeks, knowing full well, and like I can see like her face, and she's like, you wanted to say 8 weeks, 10 weeks.
Yeah.
You don't, you know that's a full house now. You need 12 weeks. Why would you say 6 weeks? Why would you
Because
say
you
4
want
weeks?
that job. You want the
Because you want the
photo,
job.
chasing that photograph,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And then what happens is at week 4, when they're like, "Hey, are we ready to?" I'm like, "Oh, I just need give me till Friday because I want to get X, Y, and Z."
Yeah.
And then I'm pushing it out, and I'm pushing it out, and I'm pushing it out, and I'm pushing it out. So it's one of those things where that it's so hard to just say, "This is what I need." And now I've learned to say it in a way. I'm like, "Hey, look, you remember when you called me, like the picture that you really liked on my website, whatever picture it was that made you call me? This is what I need to give you something like that. Like,
Mhm.
what like, I need all of this. I know it sounds weird to you, but I need all of this to give you that.
Mhm.
This is what I need.
Yeah.
It might sound weird to you, but that's what I need. These are my ingredients." And
I
Mhm.
they're
have
like,
a designer friend who
yeah,
does just that as she introduces when she's meeting the client for the first time, she has several rooms that she's done and talks about them as this is some options for children's rooms. This is some options for living rooms. This is some options for kitchens. And this is what those cost. And she's this is like an anti-sell, but
perfect.
it has to be because they
Oh,
have
that's
to realize that this is how long that takes. And this is what that look, if you want this, I can't do it for less and I can't
yeah,
do it faster because that's
yeah,
how long this, and that's how much this cost. And it worked for her so much
Mhm.
because she was able to, give them photos that they were always looking at and describe what it takes to get there. And they recognize that that's part of the process because part of the process is thinking. And people don't want to pay for someone to think.
no,
That's
no.
the hard part. It's like, how do you explain to them, I really need to think about what needs to go in your room for a while, actually, you
We
know?
just tell clients how long it'll take to get to the next step, and I can
Yeah.
tell them virtually, like to the minute, how long it will take me to get to each step, except for one exception. And in our process, it's step 8. And I tell them that's a step I can't tell you how long it's going to take because at this point, when you've just met the client at the consultation, you actually don't know what they're going to do. You don't know what is actually going to get done, what they're going to purchase, what they're going to go forward with. So I can't give you a made up number. I can tell you what all these steps are, how long it takes. And then this piece, once I know what we're actually doing, then I have to go to the contractor, the tiler, the plumber, the drapery maker, the furniture maker. I have to go to all these suppliers and find out how long they need. Then I can tell you how long that'll take.
Right.
Yeah,
So that step 8 for us is that's where the final frontier is in terms of the timeline.
Right.
But clients understand that and they appreciate that. And you can just remind them, I guarantee you can bring in 6 other designers and they'll lie to you and tell you what you want to hear. But I'm not going to do that. I'd
Right.
rather lose the job than disappoint you. I'm in the game of building trust, and I tell clients we're not looking for a client for one job. We're looking for clients for life. And then I'll say, I literally have clients, we're doing a 6th property for them. We're doing a 5th property. I'm working on their son's house. We've just done their office. My clients are clients for life.
Right. Because you've proven that your process works.
Yeah, because every client you've ever had, Niall, probably hired someone before you. And so once
oh
they
yeah,
find you and you're the real deal and you do it, they're never going to let you go. Like it's just a joke. Like I've had clients at the end of a project go, okay, I know we're done with this one, but you just give me like a little time and I'm going to start the cottage, but just don't go anywhere. Don't leave me. You can't leave me. So I'm like, don't, I'm never leaving. I want to do your grandbaby's rooms. It's okay. But that was very different than my first 10 years in business. I did not have a single repeat client. And if you don't have repeat clients, you're doing something very, very wrong. Now, some people will say, oh, all my clients are repeat, but it's because they're charging $12 a day to continually do crappy work for them. So yeah, you could definitely have repeat clients and not be killing it.
Right.
So, we went to a Christmas party for clients that we love this past December, and at the party, he introduces me to one of his friends. She's crazy expensive, but you're insane if you don't hire her. So I'm like, thank you. That's
Right.
great. I like
That's
that.
good. That's a good endorsement.
Yeah,
That
That's a
is.
really good.
exactly. Yeah, and I got a consultation coming up next month with a client. So they obviously thought, okay, I like that, right? I don't want to be introduced as super cheap. Just grab her,
Yeah, yeah,
get
yeah.
her because she's just the cheapest thing going. No, thank you.
No, no.
So,
I mean, you can work really hard to also make no money. You really can.
ah,
And not in this industry, I've
amen.
seen it over and over again. People who really like legitimately are talented and really, really, really working hard and also
So
not
sad.
making any money.
Yeah,
Making no money,
yeah.
none.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we see that too. We see people that come to every single free business of design event, and every single time they're like, okay, I'm really good. This time I'm going to do, I swear I'm going to do it. And then a year later, we see them back at market for some free event. They're like, yeah, okay, no, this is the year. Oh my gosh, it breaks my heart.
Well, it's hard to adopt. I think there's two things going on. Obviously, it costs money to learn from other people, and that's expensive. And people are resistant to spend sometimes on themselves, especially if they're not making money now. But also, I think it's the time commitment of learning a new process. People get very afraid of the time it takes to implement
Yeah,
new things, and so they think if I pay for it and then I don't use it, then that will be even worse than if I didn't do it at all, you know?
yeah,
And that's what you're running up against, I'm sure, because and
yeah.
also there are and we this is part of what we covered last market, Nile knows, is I was during COVID, I had to do some project on Facebook and I was scrolling around like we all do, and I was getting ad after ad after ad, and I screenshotted them. I screenshotted 8 ads for interior design coaches that I'd never heard of. And I was
Right.
like, "What the heck is going on? This is weird." It's almost and I still believe this. I think that something happened because COVID got so busy in the interior design world, and there was an article about this is a new market that interior design is blowing up and
Yeah,
building is blowing
yeah.
out. And all of a sudden people were thinking I could just get into this coaching. I'm seeing people who are like literally 23 have never been in this industry.
Who are experts.
What is going on here?
International experts. We
Right.
get them,
International,
you
like
get them applying to be on the podcast. International expert interior design coach. You're like, really? I don't think so, honey.
I
I just
know.
think if you want to learn how to do surgery, you better take from a working surgeon. You
Right.
better take from somebody who's got a scalpel and knows how to use it. Like, just
And to
yeah.
be a
I
little
mean,
frank,
a lot of people will take a few classes with business of design, and then we see that they're a coach and they're kind of selling some kind of watered down version. But I'd be asking to look at the coach's P&L and see, what how much do you have saved for retirement when you fly? Are you in the back of the plane or the front of the plane? Because I'm looking for a coach at the front of the plane, or no, thank you.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, it's the
yeah,
same with web developers. If they are telling you,
yes,
your SEO guy, it's going to cost this much. It's vet these people. Like, what are their numbers? What are they, what is their
yeah,
web traffic? If they're the SEO guy and he has bad web traffic himself, how is he going to do
right.
it for you? you know? So it's the same thing. I feel like there needs to be getting over that fear of what you need to do for your business and really getting serious with yourself, having that conversation with yourself that this is something I need to change. And I know that I need to take this in a different direction because what I'm doing is not working and I need outside advice for this
Mhm.
particular part. And I'm going to take those like actual receivables and do something with it, actually implement this into my process. I'm going to take the time to do that and I'm gonna invest in what makes me money, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? At the end of the day, you have to be in that mindset that you're gonna be able to do that.
yeah. It's funny, like I'm sure I'm going to mess this up, but there's some statistic. If you spend 20 minutes a day practicing something, in 1 year, you'll be better than 90% of the
I
world
agree.
at that
Yeah,
thing. So I've started doing that with Spanish. I've been trying to learn Spanish and I've been so haphazard about it. And now I'm doing 20 minutes a day, which seems like nothing, but it is translating into me being able to actually have better conversations. I'm definitely not fluent, not even close, but I'm learning. I'm getting there. And you can't swallow the apple whole. You got to just
right,
give yourself 20 minutes a day.
right.
20 minutes.
Allowing
You've got
yourself to
20
try.
minutes. I know you're scrolling Instagram and Pinterest, so you've got 20 minutes. We both know you do. Put down the Candy Crush, step over to the light side and figure out how to be profitable. The bonus is, of course, when you figure out how to be profitable by implementing systems, you automatically make clients happy. You automatically get repeat clients. You automatically have just so much more joy and confidence in your work. I mean, I did not dream that I would have the life that I have, the clients I have, and I used to play small because a lot of women play small. So I used to speak and I'd say, yeah, I do pretty well, and then I had this business coach that he was so smart. And he said, you have to stop doing that. You're actually talking to an audience that needs to know they can make $1 million in a year. And I don't mean revenue, right? They need to know that how much you make. And so I've had retreats when we have retreats in October here in Santa Monica, and I've shared, here's a project, here's our margin, here's how we did it. And they're like, you made this much money on one project. I'm like, here's my books, take a look. You could do it too. There's nothing special about me. So once you decide you're done playing small, come and stay with us. Stay in the interior design communities, come over to stay in business of design, stick with the people who know what they're doing. And, there are some of us, which is great.
Right. Exactly. There
Agree.
are some of us.
There are some of us. Yes.
All right.
Not
Well, thank
everybody,
you
but there are
so
some.
much, Kim. This was so wonderful. I'm
Oh,
gonna make sure we
joy.
get everyone over to your website and hopefully signing right up
Thank
and changing
you.
their
Thank
lives.
you.
Changing their
Cheryl might be able to give you a link or something special. I have no idea. She's in charge of that.
Yes.
I let her run those systems. I have no idea. I just know that I got to spend some time with both of you, which was just such a joy. Thank you so, so much. And
Thank you.
continue to do the work you do. It's just so necessary. Like,
Oh,
just,
love it.
we need more of you in this community, Laurie. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you.